everybody, and welcome back to You Can't Win. This is Tom here, and I'm joined by Don as usual. Today we have for you a guest, our old posting pal, Goatstein, and he's going to be telling us, I don't know, we're just going to shoot the shit. I don't know what we're going to be talking about. Probably stuff on fire or something like that, but yeah, here's Goatstein for you guys.
Word. So I'm not going to use my real name, and the reason for that is this has been a consistent principle of mine going back to my very early days. For me, it seems crazy that, the entire nerd community has gone through, their entire childhood just listening to, comic books where, the hero has to conceal his identity to stop the villains from, hurting his family. And then they're like, yeah, what's up? My name's Todd Blurbkey, and here's a picture of my shirtless body and a list of my fears. It's time to pick fights with insane people. They all do that, and I have never understood why. So, that's my whole story there.
Yeah, I feel kind of similarly. Even when Facebook started back in the day, that was so long ago, but even just that struck me as weird, and I just haven't kind of moved on past that. It's okay, why am I giving my name? Why am I putting my face to this?
I'll put my real name on my Facebook, but I like to pick fights on the internet anyway, but when it comes to that sort of thing, it's yeah, why would I give you this information to, help you destroy my life? Not that, I have too terribly much to hide, but at least with Facebook, you're just what drop in the sea. You just don't have a samurai death oath by some What's Bappin' extended universe character on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I just have nothing to lose, so I'm fine with it. So. Are you a security guy too? Or are you using Signal and all those things or whatever?
Yeah, my job, without getting into too much detail, is I've done security, and I've done essentially the reverse of my beliefs for my career, which is tracking people down and such. For unfortunately, it started out with doing credit apps and stuff like that. And then I moved on to more background checks and that sort of thing. So, yeah, nobody has any privacy. I'm not going to be. This is not a perfect shield for me, but it just is. Makes me feel better about life, I guess.
Yeah. So you see it around you, so you're extra careful yourself, probably.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I kind of burned that at a certain point. And what I tried to do a few years ago, I created a second Twitter account for myself as a real name person, and then I was it just there's no the first thing that Twitter did was suggest my other account as my the one that you're gonna follow. So I was there's no I'm kind of beyond that at this point. There's no benefit to me doing that. So
see, I would feel the problem would be if you have a Twitter for your real name, all the people on there are your normie friends, ugh, that must be awful.
Yeah. Well, they're gone. So it's weird. Yeah, and also I can give some inside info on this. Your name is not some sort of anti-Semitic thing. It's
no.
It refers to a goatstein, like a goat head. Stein.
Yes. Back in 2005, I had to make a username, and I chose there's a Goatstein on my mantle, so that was it, and that's my name now for the rest of my life online. The other thing that's good about it is that because it sounds vaguely Jewish, I get a good honeypot of just insane people who go for the first thing, so that lets you know. It's like a warning alarm.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
How's your quarantine going so far?
In Boston, it hasn't been so bad. We've, unfortunately, the train situation can get a little dicey, but it's not nearly as bad as New York City. I'm not entirely certain what the difference is there, but I think it is just New York was yeah, we gotta sacrifice as many people as possible in order to keep this shit running for just one more week, and Boston's yeah, we're second string anyway. Who cares?
Yeah, that's pretty good then, I guess. I don't know. Small graces.
Yeah, I'm living with my family now, and it's the first week of quarantine, it's I love my children. I do anything to keep them safe, and then week 8 of quarantine, I'm Moloch, Moloch, the heavy freer of dad.
Yeah. So one of the things we were going to talk about was atheism. And you had some thoughts about that, about how that has evolved over time.
Yeah. So it's not quite as bad as the libertarians who have mostly vanished. You'll still see the occasional one, rooting through your garbage on occasion. But the thing that I've been a lifelong atheist. I still am, but I have softened quite a bit on the necessity to, confront people, even in a joking manner, confront people about their religious belief. Because the thing that I realized was, and this is also is why I think it has decreased. I feel like the atheists' boom in the 2000s was directly a result of just needing an excuse to hate Muslims, essentially, because they're liberals, and we can't, we don't hate Muslims, we hate everybody, that sort of thing. And I'm sure a lot of atheists who listen to this would think, oh, that's not fair, we criticize Christians too, but as time went on, the tenor of the criticisms was what really bothered me. Like, Christians are dumb and fat and stupid and homophobic and yada yada yada, but Muslims are actively dangerous and trying to kill you. And there's a difference in that sort of criticism to me. And then, of course, you won't get any criticism of Judaism unless it's directly a thing of Zionism. Not necessarily that's bad, but again, it's just the tenor of the criticism towards those groups, and obviously none of those people know anything about Hinduism or Buddhism, so those barely ping on the radar, except to be like, oh, Buddhism, it's more of a philosophy than a religion. That's literally what Sam Harris said. That fraud, that imbecile. So that was that was always something. That was always something that bothered me and made me kind of back off a little bit about, like, I still obviously believe that it would be better if everyone was an atheist, but it's not necessarily the best tactics to constantly get into people's faces. And like I was saying, part of the reason why I think it went downward, part of the reason why I think atheism quit being quite as much of a thing on the internet was that, like, as the 2000s became the 2010s, it's like online, it's like, oh, we don't actually have to pretend anymore. We can just hate Muslims. So, like, why are we bothering with this shit? Like, no, Christianity's actually good now because of tradition and such. So that was also a problem for me as I noticed that. It's like, yeah, they don't now all the guys who would have been atheists back in like 2005 are full on, Christianity's good because of ancient Greece.
Right.
Absolute nonsense.
Yeah, they had to move on from. I mean, it used to be libertarianism and atheism and like fundamentalist capitalism, like kind of quoting Ayn Rand and that kind of thing. And as soon as that sort of fell out of favor, they moved into that more trad, pseudo-Nazi-ish kind of right-wing stuff, and that had to include the Christian heritage and the Western civilization stuff. And so now they're like pro-Christian and with no real religious grounding to that at all, right? Like it's right. Completely like just for show or whatever.
The other thing, actually, one thing I've noticed in the development of the pro-trad ideology is that a lot of these dudes are now made up pagan style guys, pagan or Norse, because Christianity is derived from Judaism. So it's a conquering faith. So if you really want to be full trad, you got to go back to like pretending you knew how guys dance around trees in the year 2. So there's that.
Yeah, no, I know that's the funniest thing to me. Although I have to be a bit careful with what I'm saying here because, in 2000 or so, 2003 or so, I was more of the atheist libertarian guy. Like I was exactly that. And then a few years ago, I was like, full-on communist meme guy or something like that. And now I feel like I'm slightly before, like, I like realize I'm an idiot like a few years before everyone else does or something like that. And but I still have to go through the same thing as everyone else. So it's like I'm condemned to being the dumb guy from that period of time or something like that. So, yeah. But the trad people are online today are having a lot of fun with trying to be like monarchists or something, which I don't know. I feel like if at that point, if you're like actively pro monarchist, like I don't know, you got a lot of problems. I don't know. So
those people are just like the mirror image of the weird communists online. Or like I actually follow the oh god, I can't even think of Don, what's a really obscure communist from Eastern Europe?
Hoxha? Albania?
Yeah, that's who I want to follow for my communism is the Albanians for sure.
Well, I mean that's the purest strain. I mean that's a correct position.
We are a Hodges podcast, so you might want to walk back that a bit. But yeah,
yeah. There was a thing that was mentioned just earlier today about how like the lib criticism of the protesters now is that they're LARPers. And the first thing that came to my mind was Zizek voice like, I am already live action role playing all of the time. Okay,
yeah.
that is my life. But the people who are like the serious trads or the serious weird breakaway communists, they're not LARPing. They're just being mad on the internet, which fine, but it's not LARP. I claim.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's that's true. But so I saw you said something about this a minute ago. So about the protest, like that, it is kind of funny how I was myself. I completely bought into that too. But there was this moment where saying that there were police involved in the protests trying to cause problems, where that was just assumed on the left or something, and then it kind of switched over like in a day to it being a lib position, and then everyone kind of went, that's actually evil and anti-Semitic and terrible to say that there's agent provocateur and all that. So
yeah, well, I mean that was obviously not in a serious type of post.
Sure.
I think the main difference is that if you're a liberal commentator, you can't say that the violence is good. So what other move do you have other than to say it's the fault of people I don't like already?
Sure.
Yeah. And obviously, there is kind of a funny contradiction in that, where it's like, I mean, like I said, it's not a sincere post, but there was a funny contradiction I was saying. It was like, on the one hand, it's like, oh, look at all these cops or theoretical cops breaking windows, but then on the other hand, it's like, oh, actually breaking windows is good, and these, and I mean, I get it. You have to support these people. I'm not saying I don't, but pick one or the other. Basically, if it's good that if it's good that windows are being broken, then the cops are breaking windows, so it makes people madder. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I've been very who care about this stuff. Like I keep forgetting that it's happening, and then I open up Twitter, and it's just nothing except this stuff, and I just like, oh yeah, that's happening, and then I just like get annoyed, and it's not so much about the fact that there's protests happening or riots or whatever you want to call it. Like that I don't care about that really. Like fine, whatever. But just the fact that it's like such a constant thing is annoying to me, and it for some reason feels exactly like when your neighbor is having a really loud party and you're trying to sleep. Like I feel like I go on Twitter, I'm like, okay, let's see what, like maybe someone said something funny. Maybe I'll think of a funny joke. Nope, we're just going to be talking about burning stuff. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. Here's a funny joke. Did you know that the actual real looting is society?
Woo.
Ever think about that?
Yeah.
Just on and on, yeah. And it's... I don't want to be too critical because I do agree with these people, but it is literal just virtue signaling on Twitter. It's like, yeah, actually, the people who are being looted are the freaking, I don't want to say that word, but yeah, that's what's happening.
The triple parentheses.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like so-and-so has been conspicuously silent. Like, now you have to actually, like, it's like roll call. You have to show up and raise your hand. Yes, I was there. Yes, this is my opinion on the subject. Like, man, I'm just sitting here. What does it matter what I think? Like, who cares?
Yeah. Yeah. I think in the future you're going to have like a website which just like has like a list of opinions basically.
You have to register.
Register, and you're going to have to like change your light to like green. I support the protest or something like that. Or else you won't be able to like go to the store or something like that kind of thing. Like that'll be
you can get like free credit at the Amazon store for registering like 10 correct opinions in a row. Yeah. You get a free chicken wrap or something.
Yeah.
You should go. You should just like go out and repost the Mayor Pete thing. Like they don't necessarily want you to say anything substantive. They just want you to like spout off some gibberish to say that you're on their side, even if it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I'm like halfway to just copy pasting Trump tweets and just doing that for like, that's my new Twitter.
God damn. Speaking of Trump, I wasn't even planning on talking about this, but like, he's so funny.
Yeah,
like he's the only funny right-wing comedian other than maybe Norm Macdonald. But Norm Macdonald doesn't really make politics a thing. Like they say right-wingers aren't funny, but then you have Trump just like washed-up psycho Bette Midler, and I don't think he has any concept of like that he's being absurd. Like he thinks he's being cool, but that's part of it. And like also like. Basically, all these Democrats, like when they say, like, oh, if these people just stood up at the press conference and be like, Mr. Trump, what is Obamagate? And you haven't even answered the question. And like they live in the West Wing world where like that's going to own him. But we've seen it. He just goes up in there like, you know what Obamagate is, and by the way, nice tie, Ronald McDonald. I love your hamburgers. Like he's an insult comic, and they think like Sherman Klump's gonna stand up and be like, actually, I have lost 5 pounds in the last 3 months.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I mean, it's a bad person, obviously, but that's one thing that nobody refuses to. Well, most people refuse to just acknowledge about what his appeal is to these. Morons is that he's funny and he makes the people that they hate mad. That's why they like him, not because they like his policies.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if I really wish the whole Epstein angle would be pushed a little bit more with him, because that became like a plus for his base. Now the Epstein thing is an anti-Clinton, anti-Democrat thing instead of like Trump is very close to all that. Like but that's the problem with it, is the fact that it's Clinton and Trump, like left and right, for whatever those terms are worth. And when we're talking about this kind of politics, like they're both connected to Epstein, and that angle could be pushed to really hurt both of them and all that kind of stuff. But nope, it takes on that stupid partisan thing. So here we are. Didn't amount to anything.
R.I.P. though.
Rest in peace to Jeffrey, our good friend.
I'm actually kind of a bit happy that it doesn't come up as much, because I feel like if it did come up, he would somehow have a perfect retort to it that would just change the subject immediately, kind of thing. He would just like say something that would be so funny that it would kind of make sense or something like that. He'd be like, I don't know, something like, I did that in the past because that's what you had to do to get where I am or something, and he'd be like, yeah, that's the thing. He was working the system or something, and now he's going to arrest them all and put like ankle monitors on all of the celebrities and all that. So,
yeah.
Well,
Hillary would come out like, yeah, but me too, and then like, no, shut up, bitch, go to jail.
My emails. No, you're right, Tom. The way, what would he say? The thing you have to think about is, imagine he's Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. What would Triumph the Insult Comic Dog say to being accused of being involved with Epstein? It's like,
those kids were sexy for me to poop on.
I went to Little St. James. I saw the children and I said, this is terrible for me to poop on.
That's a pretty good insult. Like, impression of insult.
I was watching an old Conan O'Brien clip. You ever see Polly, the NBC peacock? I don't know why my mind went to that, but it was the old Conan shows. Like, Conan now still looks better than that fucking Kennedy mutant they pulled out of a clone vat somewhere in Womass. Like, I don't understand how these people get more and more degenerate every generation.
Yeah, I like Conan. Even though he's kind of I don't know, just like a lib kind of schmuck today, but I don't know. He's
not nearly as bad as most of them now.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did like this travel series or something. He went to a bunch of different countries and stuff, and some of them is like, oh, he went to Cuba. Okay, that's interesting. And he didn't really like push any political thing. It was just like, here's the people of Cuba. Here's what they're like. But then one of the countries he went to was Israel, and I was like, all right, Shut up, Conan.
The Cuba one was pretty good. Actually, I think a lot of that works out well because like even if you're not pushing a political take, it's just like, hey, I'm a nerd and look at me try to salsa dance. I think that works and is humanizing. Even if, yeah. I have not seen the one in Israel. I think I saw that it was a option to watch, and like, yeah, I'm gonna skip over this one.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did. And the humanizing aspect is, of course, the problem of doing a show on Israel is that you humanize the Israelis, and this is, they're an enemy to humanity.
Yeah.
There was one where he went to South Korea, and they actually went up to the DMC, and there's some dude with just a sweet gig. There's like some building on the DMZ where like they go to like have diplomatic meetings and such. It's like this little like hot couch room, and yeah, there's some dude whose job is from North Korea. Whose job is just to stand in the corner with a gun and just
yeah, like with the sunglasses on, that dude.
yeah, to look like he's busy. That'd be so sweet.
Well, yeah. I mean, he either has a really easy career or a career that ends very badly. So that's I guess that's the trade-off. So I don't know.
I mean, it's got to be pretty good because if he wanted to defect, he could just like move 10 feet.
Sure. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you got to imagine they had him do some crazy shit to get that position. Like, it has to be someone you can trust. So, like we were talking about with Trump and Epstein, like, who knows what that guy did to be trustworthy to sit right on the border there.
Yeah.
We found the only man in North Korea to visit Little St. James.
Yeah, I heard that like at one of their like in North Korea they have this like mountain resort where like people from the south are allowed to go, and it's got like its own, or it used to, at least I'm not sure about now, but it has its own like train line basically there, and it's completely obviously locked off in that from the public and that, and apparently you could only work there for 3 months shifts so that you wouldn't know any of the people that were there, So I thought that was kind of a funny job situation. So like, if you were a waiter or something, it wouldn't, you wouldn't want to be there for a different season or a different thing so that there wasn't any sort of contact between the people. I don't even know if that's true, but it's just one of those things where it's like, that's cool. That's cool dictatorship thought. I don't know. So, yeah.
Yeah, who knows? Nothing comes out of North Korea is worth the paper it's printed on. My wife is actually from South Korea, and funnily enough, like everybody in South Korea, even like the reactionaries, are much more sympathetic to North Korea than we are. And I'm not saying that even the reactionaries like them or not, terrified they're gonna, nuke Seoul, but they want to reunify, and they don't think that this is an intractable position.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. And also, they're all drunk and believe in magic. Sorry, that's racism, but I was there. I saw it. It happens.
Oh, so how many times have you been there?
I've been to South Korea twice. Once when my wife and I were engaged, and then later when I was showing off my first kid. And, what's up?
That's cool. How long were you there for?
I was there the first time for a week, and then the second time for 3 weeks. My wife's grandmother, who is now deceased, stone-faced a baby, which I thought was very funny. She was like just chugging soju and just being mad at nothing. As far as I could tell, I was like, "Is she racist? Is she mad that I'm white?" And my wife's like, "No, that's just the way she is." I'm like, "Okay, cool, whatever."
That's pretty cool.
Have you learned any Korean at all, or?
No, I've mentioned it to my wife, and she's actually very funny too. She's like, "Yeah, it's useless outside of the peninsula. There's no reason to bother with it." So, although it is kind of cute when she talked to the kids when they were younger. She sounded like Lady Rainicorn from Adventure Time.
I mean, now that K-pop is getting popular, that that could be a more useful language, I guess. And my barber is actually Korean and doesn't speak any English, so that would also be useful to me. So I just tell him short, and he kind of gets it at this point.
Yeah, I don't think Goat is gonna become a K-pop star anytime soon, but yeah.
Well, the little goat maybe. The goatling.
The gatito. or cabrito rather. Now it's like people have asked me what South Korea is like, and I just say, imagine Japan on its meds. That's what South Korea is like.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking about like the protests more and stuff. Getting back to that a bit, and
No,
yeah.
I have sex. I'm married.
Okay, yeah. Thanks for sure.
I've had
And
sex.
yeah, um, it is kind of I don't know. It feels weird because number one, it's like for years this is exactly what I wanted to happen. You know what I mean? Like this is like like a big kind of protest and people kind of self-organizing and all that kind of stuff. And
Right.
now that I actually see it, it's kind of like I have this thing where I feel like it depends on who it is. If it's like someone that I know who uh, is into politics and probably got into it in the last few years or something like that, I'm like, okay, well, let's be patient and calm and sort of, maybe take a step back and think it through what you're doing, kind of thing. Don't get into this kind of emergency logic thing. It's the same I kind of felt like a few months ago with the Bernie stuff, where like you put so much of your personality and energy and risk and money and stuff into something, and then I don't know. I just feel like you get disappointed pretty quickly if you do that all the time. I don't
Yeah.
know. Yeah. So that's kind of my worry about that is that I don't know the human side of that. Now, I mean, if you kind of get into this mode where you're like, the carnival atmosphere of it, and I call it like 20s brain for part of it, like this idea that you're 24 or something like that, and like this is the most exciting thing in the world kind of thing. Yeah, like I don't know. I just feel like you got to take a step back a bit from that and be like,
Well, I mean, even supporting these things is like, in a realistic sense. I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, Joe Biden's still going to be the Democratic nominee. You know, I mean, great for them. Great for making these fucking pigs hurt. But what's going to change?
Yeah.
That's me being cynical, but at this point, like, that's got to be your default position.
I had this idea that Trump is going to do another round of stimulus checks, but he's going to specifically disinclude the cities that had riots and stuff. I don't know. I just think of like what's a funny thing that can happen now because like nothing good ever happens. So like let's just think of funny stuff that could happen.
I don't know. I feel like things are so bad that things could get better pretty quickly just by like someone even doing like half-assed good things or something like that. Do you know what I mean? Like if it just things are so bad that it's like I don't know. Like even the $1,200 that you guys got, that seemed to sort of put a bounce in people's step for a day. Well, let's get more of that kind of thing going. I think that would be good. But as you said, don't send it to the cities where there's any sort of problems.
So part of the problem is, yeah, you probably would have a lot less people rioting if the Democrats would have given people more checks to stay inside.
Yeah.
Yeah, our friend of the show, Seamus Malekevsely, I think I said his name right this time. Hopefully, made an interesting point that the riots and stuff. It's like it seems like a much bigger deal now than in previous. We've had these kind of like police killing.
Oh no,
black
absolutely.
guys
This
before.
is the biggest it's been in decades for sure.
Yeah, and he pointed out that the unemployment is at like 18% or something, and he compared that to Iran and Iraq, which had like 16% and like 12% when they were having big protests and stuff like that. So, there. I imagine there's some sort of that's a factor. Like people are stressed financially and everything, and I'm sure the quarantine situation. Some people seem to be taking it pretty hard, so that might be a thing as well. But
Well, again, just to be cynical, it's like there were big protests in Iran. There was a big unemployment rate in Iran, but then what happened? Nothing, as far as I can tell. People just got mad. They went outside, and it's like, unfortunately, when I come down to this position, it's like after Bernie lost, it's like a lot of people were saying, if he had done this or that, and I deeply believe that nobody, and especially nobody in politics, is above criticism, but I don't think there was any way he could have won, and I didn't believe that before, but I believe it now. Like if they hadn't done that shit to him they would have done what they did to Corbin, and that probably would have worked. And if that wouldn't have worked, they would have done to him what they did to Dilma. There was no way that he was going to actually be able to change anything, at least at that point in time.
Yeah,
that's just my opinion. And I feel like a lot of the, especially on like the Stupid Paul set or Michael Tracy set is saying if he had only been more nationalist and been more an immigration hawk, that would have worked. And like that doesn't make any sense even on its own merits. You're just pushing an existing grievance.
Yeah, no, I agree. If the people who care about that are voting for Trump, like they got their guy.
Yeah, and even if you say you can appeal to normies who aren't voting for Trump, like I'm not going to say that wouldn't work in a general election. I don't know, but in a Democratic primary, you think that's going to work? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
So this is the new and improved social justice warrior Goatstein that we've all come to love.
Yeah. And on that same topic, I think the reason why was like, over the last few years, it's been like, we can build a cross-racial position that supports the working class, no matter who they are. And I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. I'm down with that. And then as soon as they lose the election, like, no, actually, we needed to be more racist. And they wouldn't phrase it that way. They say, oh, we should be meaner to Mexicans. But that's essentially the same thing. And the thing is, the Hispanics were Bernie's base. They were why he won. He crushed Nevada. They were why he might have swept California. They were why he might have won Texas before, the shit. And that's the other thing that a lot of these people just refuse to talk about. Is like, it wasn't just some incomprehensible fluke that all of the people in the primary except Elizabeth Warren dropped out that day. Like, Joe Biden was in third place, teetering towards fourth. There was no reason why he should have been considered the front runner, aside from the fact, like, oh shit, we have to stop this. And nobody wants to acknowledge that, because that doesn't help them with. I mean, you can make a Patreon on, listen to me. If we listen to me, we'll get socialism. But you can't get a Patreon off of, there's nothing we can do. It's all screwed. We just gotta wait for shit to get worse. And yeah, cool. I guess I'll go game now. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we've been trying to get a Patreon going for. There's nothing you can do, but you can. But, I don't know.
Yeah, with middling success.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, is that something that you kind of feel like both of us were pretty. I remember that we've kind of had similar sort of attitudes towards at least liberals for a while. Like we were pretty early, against Obama and stuff, and that, and. Do you feel like there's a bit of like the more things change, the more they stay the same with that kind of stuff? I remember in like 2004 or something like that. Even a lot of the stuff on SA was all like John Kerry and stuff. Like all the and then with Obama it became like this huge thing of like everyone donating to him and money bombing and all that and stuff. And I don't know. I feel like it's different with Bernie because he actually like he had reasonable policies. It wasn't just like a for show, but it does feel almost like a full cycle again or something, where we just keep going through these things. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, and I showed up on forums, at least political forums, I guess 2006, 2007. So I was around for the Obama stuff, and I was an Obama supporter. I actually physically worked for Obama in Nevada, where I lived at the time. And I don't even regret that necessarily, because that was during the primary, so we fucking kept Hillary Clinton out of there. So
sure, yeah.
Even if that was the only thing, then yeah, I'm still happy about that. But I feel like the difference between the Obama campaign and the Bernie campaign, and again, I don't think Bernie's perfect, but one of the things that like Matt Iglesias would say is, Bernie should have built a coalition. And what he means is that he should have done the Obama strategy. He should have sold out, went in the back rooms and said, hey, this is all a bunch of bullshit. I'll make you whole. You just need to back off and not oppose me. And I'm not going to say that's not a successful strategy. Probably it worked for Obama. It might have worked for Bernie, but it wouldn't have got us anything we wanted.
Sure.
You know. And I think that was the difference. I think that the Bernie to an extent actually does believe this crap in a way that Obama didn't, and that was his undoing. That's why he couldn't actually win.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to, that's pretty much what I think. Yeah, it's true. And I think it's one of those things where because he believes it at some level, that explains his kind of actions in the last few weeks and stuff, where he just, he's just been pushing the, he's just doing the same thing he's always done kind of thing, push for the lesser evil where you need to and kind of do all that kind of stuff, So
Right.
I think that he's kind of disconnected from his base in that regard, or at least part of it.
Yeah, there's not a lot he could do.
Sure.
When you think about it, it's like his options were either support Joe Biden or don't, and materially, yeah, he probably would have helped Trump win if he went full bore against Biden after he dropped out. So you have to wonder what that would actually do.
Sure.
Yep.
So one of the things that's kind of funny over the last, to me at least, over the last few years is that, we've seen this kind of pivot since the Black Lives Matter stuff, at least, a pivot against the police on the left where, I would say that the mainstream, on the activist kind of left, where the mainstream position now tends to be something like abolition or something close to it, right? Like where, like on DSA or something like that, if you were like, we need to organize the police rank and file and all that kind of stuff, you would just be laughed at or something like that, right? But then on the other end, the veterans and sort of the attitude towards the military doesn't seem as strident as it was, say, under Obama and that too, or before that. As a lifelong troop hater, I was wondering what you kind of thought about that kind of thing, like the decline in criticism of the military on the left or something like that, at least from my perspective. So,
Well, I don't think that, and this is something that John Dolan said once, which is he was talking about why communism failed to spread across North Africa and the Middle East during the Cold War. He said that blood is thicker than ideology, and that what that would meant was like your clan, your brother, your tribe, and the hatreds of your tribe, go back further than communism. They go back further than America. And so when it comes down to are we going to build global communism, or are we going to go kill these fuckers next door, or am I going to go back up my cousin? The answer is I'm going to back up my cousin. And I feel like that has always been the stumbling block for the left when it comes to there's no way to put it, hating troops because they are awful people. I believe that in my heart. I've spent over a decade reading these people, and just they're absolutely vile. When they talk amongst themselves, they're worse than cops, worse than prosecutors, just the worst people you can ever find on the internet. Worse than the Nazis, because at least the Nazis are they're just talking shit. They're like, I hate the Jews. Whereas the troops are like, yeah, I killed a couple of people, but whatever, they were in my face, so who cares? In terms of actual evil committed on the world, the troop boasters are far worse than anyone, period. But when it comes to blood is thicker than ideology, it's like when you mention that to somebody, they don't think about the Iraqi who's thousands of miles away who's being shot in the face. They think of, oh, my idiot cousin. They think of, oh, my friend from high school who couldn't get a real job. That's who their allegiance to, and maybe not necessarily that's even wrong, but it is a major stumbling block over, taking an objective position about what these people are and what they do.
So do you still read troop posts? It sounds like you've read some recently that made you angry. I don't know. I don't know.
No, not recently that have made me angry. It's just build up, just foamy build up of, and there haven't been that many recently. I think the worst ones of fairly recent note were, I've mentioned this before, like liberals. This happened remember when Trump, right before the election, was like, I'm going to send all the the troops, said the cops, they're the same. I'm going to send the troops to the border to shoot any Mexicans who come over here on the caravan, and so on and so on. And, liberals are like, oh, this actually violates the law. And then you read the troop posts and they're like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to, these people are invaders. And, if that's what has to be done, that has to be done, man. That was the most recent thing I can remember of just anything terribly bad. A lot of the antipathy has become towards the cops, which is not bad, but yeah. I think it is just the fact that the cops are in your face, whereas the troops are not. And the cops, there is a higher. I'm not saying a moral qualification, but there's a higher qualification to be a cop. You can't just be 18 and in fairly good shape and become a cop. You have to go through some stuff, which means there are fewer people who have, sympathy for their friend from high school who decided, I'm just going to, buy a Dodge Charger by blowing away an apartment building,
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. There's more like of a threshold to kind of get over, when it comes to the anger and stuff like that. Like it's you got that personal quality to troops and stuff. That
And actually on that topic, one thing that I think is on the topic of both the troops and the protests is what we're seeing now is a very good parallel incident, which is that remember back in the early stage of the Iraq War, where like the entire insurgency we're being told, oh, they're Iranian and they're Syrian. They're not from here. The people from here love us, right?
Yeah.
Now it's the same thing. It's like, oh, the black people, they're, yas queening, they're hitting the nay to gifts of Hillary, but it's these outside agitators who are, undermining, what they're trying to do. It's the same thing. It's like it's a propaganda method where the people who are there, who have every reason to be angry and every reason to engage in violence, they don't exist. Who exists are the people who we can just slander as being just there because they're just loco.
Yeah, I saw a funny tweet that was like, had a picture of Nathan Fielder from Nathan For You, and it was just like, okay, here's the plan. We send the people from D.C. to Baltimore, the people from Baltimore to Chicago, the people from Chicago to Minneapolis. All these cities are erupting with all this protests, all these riots and stuff, but somehow it's all outside agitators. So like it's just we're all shifting our populations from one city to the next in order to cause these things.
Yep, and I was remembering the other day, there was I watched a documentary about 10 years ago. I think it was British, because it probably wouldn't have been allowed to, this part probably wouldn't have been allowed to be in the final cut. But there was like a, young, fresh-faced kind of troop, and if you know anything about these military propaganda videos, you'll know that they pick the guy who's the most stable, the guy who's not going to just fly off and just start murdering people. And, they put him in front of the camera, and, the guy says, these Afghanis, we're just trying to help them, and, they don't do anything, and, it makes me want to fucking kill. It makes me mad, he says. And that is the most stable, the most, reasonable troop they could have put in there. He's just barely containing his, urge to express how much he wants to kill the people he's supposed to be there to protect, just flying off the handle at nothing. They didn't even mention any particular thing. I'm sorry, I'm getting fiery.
No, that's good. No, that's good. I mean, that's the thing is that it's good to hear it because it's I don't know, some of that's been missing, I think, from the debates in the last little while. I don't know. Maybe that's one of my grievances too, that I just don't see as much. But I always like that Carter for VA guy, whatever.
Right.
He always it's strange because he was like, I'm a former Marine, and he's like that's part of his backstory and stuff, I guess. And he is he's against the war and stuff now and that, but it's strange because it's that's the level, that's the position of the left now, where it's sort of like in this middle thing, where it's like, you know, he kind of has a little bit of the prestige of being a former Marine. You know what I mean? It's not like it's not at the expense of that.
Shit.
It's so he's like, I'm a former Marine, so it's like he's got both of it. He's got like the anti-war, but he's also like, you know, I was a jarhead basically, kind of thing, right? And then so I was saying to him that he should say on like the, you know, like in the Virginia House or wherever, he should say, you know, that like introduce a resolution that says that the Marine Corps should be disbanded and that all historical medals that have been issued by the Marines should be, or like, you know, to a Marine should be considered void. I thought that would be like a good thing,
great.
A good anti-war movement to do. But that's the thing, is that, you know, the first, you know, the reaction to that immediately would be like, no, we're not doing that. We got to be serious here, or something like that. You know? And it's that we got to be serious here thing that kind of is the thing that makes me wince or something. It's like the, you know, no, I'm a former Marine, but that's, you know, it's somehow part of my journey, so it's a good thing or something. I don't know. So
yeah. You see, this is punching down hard, but I'm going for it. You see the dudes outside in the homeless dudes who are like, you know, former veteran, you know, give me money. It's like, take pity on me, additional pity on me, because I have killed men. Like, how does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, you know, as a Christian, maybe, but I don't know. Like, not for monetary reasons. I don't know.
That guy. I mean, what's his ass? The redheaded dude from Virginia. I've already forgotten his name because I don't really care about him.
Lee Carter.
Yeah, he's all right. He's probably one of the better ones, but he's just a goober.
That's the problem. That's what we got to work with right now.
He's just a fucking pussy. How is he an ex-Marine?
Yeah.
Talking about his wife, like, abused him or whatever. Like, you're a Marine, dude. You're supposed to be beating the shit out of her. How did that happen?
Yeah.
I really like that guy is like a one-sided beef with Felix Biederman, and Felix Biederman just does not care and barely knows who that guy is.
Yeah.
Like, I'm a former Marine and I'm a member of a House of Congress, but I'm gonna fucking pick a fight with the dumbest guy on a comedy podcast who does not care.
Yeah, there's something wrong with him.
He posted a tweet once that it was like, I mean, that's part of the same thing, is that it was like a picture of me and Felix, and he was like, you know, these guys have to be held accountable or something, and I was like, I don't know. So I don't know.
That sounds like a threat.
Yeah. Or something. You know, it was something like that. Basically, like it was like, you know, the thing, and I thought it was funny because now it might have just been those things where it you know, he was just looking at, like, I don't know, you know what I mean, like it was people he follows that also follow this person or something, right. You know what I mean, kind of thing, and so he might have just, you know, it was just like a screen grab, but I like the equivalence there though too, is that I'm some random idiot from Canada kind of thing, you know what I mean? Like I'm not even really, you know. So I thought that was funny, but
a lot of y'all are against policing, but will support follow policing.
Yeah.
Damn.
Anyways. So
speaking of Jarhead, I believe that the best film, if you want to understand what troops are actually like, is the film Jarhead. Because it's all these fucking homoerotic pussies who hang out in the desert, do nothing, get cucked, jerk off, and then the war's over. And that's not the intended message of the film. The message of the film is like, damn, these guys went through some shit, you know, being in the desert and jerking off. But that is actually what it's like.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, the biggest movies about war now are stuff like Zero Dark 30 or something kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, I don't know. It's all like sort of dark, or like The Hurt Locker. You know, it's like where it's like somehow it's like dark and just psycho stuff happens, but then it's supposed to be somehow like redeeming of, like, you know, the veteran experience or something. I don't know. It's very bizarre.
This is from Hannah Arendt's Eichmann in Jerusalem, which I believe is 1966. A systematic effort was made to weed out all those who derive physical pleasure from what they did. The troops of the Einsatzgruppen had been drafted from the armed SS, a military unit with hardly more crimes in its record than any ordinary unit of the German army, and their commanders had been chosen by Heydrich from the SS elite with academic degrees. Hence the problem was how to overcome not so much their conscience as the animal pity by which all normal men are affected in the presence of physical suffering. The trick used by Himmler, who apparently was rather strongly afflicted by these instinctive reactions himself, was very simple and probably very effective. It consisted in turning these instincts around, as it were, in directing them towards the self. So that instead of saying, "What horrible things I did to people," the murderers would be able to say, "What horrible things I had to watch in the pursuance of my duties, how heavily the task weighed upon my shoulders."
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
Yep!
Yeah.
The old American sniper thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, that was a good chat. I think we, yeah, so we'll get into the questions.
On a happy note, so we got good questions.
Let's get...
Yeah, let's do some questions. These should be pretty fun. So I opened this up, and my weekly Jew-loving cucks. Muslim Tom is a race traitor. That's all here again.
Plus one.
Okay, let's see. I'm not sure what this is about. The other day I commented $5 says they crash on my friend's Facebook live stream of the SpaceX launch. I was immediately condemned and told to F off. Clearly I have a problem with trolling. What's a good way to tamper down on this disease? Well, you're asking the wrong guys, to be honest.
Yeah, we don't know what to do there. No, sorry. How about you, Goat? You got a possible response?
Let's see. So, how do I control my trolling?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be subtler, I would say. Like, instead of like, "I hope that blows up," be like, I don't know, something like, "I hope that they get to spend the rest of their lives in space."
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good approach
Yeah.
to take. Kind of like, instead of because it's always going to be pretty easy. Like when you're focusing on, okay, can I get a reaction? Yes, you can very easily get a reaction, but you want to like try to compete with yourself, and at least that way you are improving. And subtle is a good way to go. That kind of thing.
Plausible deniability.
Yeah, that's another good angle. But yeah, we are definitely the wrong people to ask about that. Okay, your day-to-day browser would have arrows pointing left to go back one history page and right to go forward. Does a Quranic browser have these the other way around to match the directions of text? In my experience, it's actually not. It's the same as like you would have on the regular browser that you're used to, left for back, right for forward. But I don't know if that is different actually for, like, if you set it to Arabic or something. I don't think so, but I'm not sure about that. But that's an interesting question. I never thought of that.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah. The books obviously do go right to left, though, when you're reading them.
Like manga.
Yeah, like manga. It's good.
Hey guys, love the show. You give off a very repressed, respective Mormonism aesthetic that I think helps ground the discussion. Anyway,
Not really a question, sir.
Anyway, should landlords be subject to professional licensing requirements? Define those terms however you want to make the answer interesting. No, I don't care. I have no opinion, so I'm against the idea of something I don't understand being involved in that.
Yeah, yeah. This is a tough one. Yeah, I guess I'm not really sure if it's like a licensing, but maybe like a passport kind of system or something. Like if like you would have to carry a card that says I'm a landlord, and like people could, police or whoever could ask, maybe not police because they wouldn't exist, but like the people could sort of ask if you had a landlord card, and then that would be like, if you're walking down the street and someone goes to rob you or something, and then they could go like, they could find the landlord card and be like, okay, it's okay, you're allowed to get robbed or something like that. So
yeah, or maybe they could wear some certain kind of outfit and have their hair a certain way. Maybe like they don't cut their certain parts of their hair, that kind of thing. I don't know, just some ideas.
This is going into a dark place that I did not intend.
I feel like you should have. Thank you for the question, listener. I feel like we should have occupational licensing for landlords and make it as stringent as possible. That way, you remove the petty bourgeoisie area where only the rich can afford to have it, and therefore we accelerate the class antagonisms or whatever.
Yeah. So that's a good idea.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that is the result. Whether you think that's a positive or negative, that's up to you, I guess. Okay. Just listened to the Left is a Pyramid Scheme episode and am confused as to what you want your listeners to do with your take. If most forms of collective action are run by grifters, do you think people should get together and try their best to sack the grifters? Or should we all focus on becoming success-win hustlers and perfect neoliberal subjects in order to fulfill our material needs? I don't know. Maybe I'm just missing the point of a podcast called You Can't Win. All right, let me let you guys in on a little secret. I do not care what you do. Okay. I don't care. Do whatever you want.
Yeah, I guess like the thing for me is that I would rather focus on what the truth of the situation is. Now, I mean, in that episode, I did say that I do still think that like there's got to be like trying to get out of the situation we're in now is a good idea. Like somehow, like you know what I mean. If that involves, for me, that would probably involve socialism. Like that's a good positive thing for me to be part of that movement in some abstract way at least. And but just being like positive for the sake of being positive, I don't know if that's going to get you anywhere. You just kind of have to know what the terms of your situation are. It's and if that's not true for you, like if you're like, well, then it's like fine, like whatever. That's what you kind of have to go through. I don't know, kind of thing. But not only that, but like there's just there's a lot more to the left than just being like hype men for certain politicians or something like that. Like, there's a lot more involved in day-to-day life than, as I said, like pressing the green light beside different opinions and stuff. I don't know. So that's what I would say. I did feel after that episode a bit that I was like, I just sort of let things go in that direction the whole time, like the more cynical kind of thing. But, I think I don't know. I do feel like that a lot of the time. So I think it's good to be honest about that. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. You have to understand the people who are arguing that the people who have failed so far are grifters are themselves grifters. And I don't know what you're supposed to do with that information, but if you see like an Amy Therese or something or Michael Tracy be like, yeah, we need to be more racist towards Mexicans in order to win. Like, even if you think that might work, be skeptical because
sure.
the people who are attempting to overthrow the existing grifters are probably themselves also grifters.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things there's a lot of things in society that just suck. Like, it's not like, it doesn't have to mean that like you have to choose one side or the other within them, kind of thing. A lot of the time, it's more just like, oh man, that sucks. Got to like deal with that someday or something. I don't know. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that I can be here to grind down every possible chance at hope of any sort happening, so that eventually people will just give up and submit to God and God alone, and then, that'll make me happy.
Okay. Well, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. I love you guys, but unfortunately, any religion that does not account for blood, race, both spiritual and biological, and roots to the soil is a dumb, unnatural religion. I told you not to send in any questions on here.
As an atheist, I agree.
I really wonder if this is one guy who sends in like 20 of these a week, or if there's like, it's got to be one guy, right?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, I guess we got to think what's better for us. Like, is it good that we don't want 20 listeners that are diehard racists? So maybe the one guy is better for us. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I've never been. I don't know. I grew up in the suburbs and stuff. So I kind of had standard liberal opinions on this kind of stuff, like racism and stuff growing up. It wasn't like, it just seemed kind of dumb. a lot of the time. Now, in retrospect, I think you do have a lot of right-wing opinions that you just didn't criticize because of your position. But anyways, so I don't know. Maybe it's part because I'm part Ukrainian or something. I thought that Ukraine, like Nazis. At least I thought at the time. I don't know if it's completely true, but like Nazis wanted to genocide Ukrainians. To me, that was like the idea I had growing up. So I just thought that like being a Nazi was like a nonsense opinion. It was like when black people, if they were wearing like a swastika or something, it would just be like, just didn't make sense to me. So I still can't wrap my mind around it. I can't. No, I'm not. I mean, it seems like a dumb thing for me to want to wrap my mind around, but I just can't. It just doesn't jive with me at all. Like I don't, like this whole blood and history kind of stuff. Whatever. It's like, I don't know. There's just something there that I don't get about like why it's important to people so much. I don't know. So.
Yeah, it's pretty gay, to be honest. If you're a racist, you're gay.
Yeah.
All right. Will you guys ever do a falsetto episode where you do the entire episode in falsetto voice? You can have that idea for free. What do you think of that one, Goat?
Just whatever, man. If you wanna, you can probably just turn up the tempo or whatever to make it sound like we're all chipmunks anyway. If you download the Wave, used to do that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, they could make it themselves, and then, if they sell it though, like if they want, if it becomes like a hit or something, then we get part of the cut. So, because it might be a viral hit or something, that people want to listen to 5 minutes of us talking really fast or something. So.
I turned up the Wave on Donald, and now he's Ben Shapiro. But that's ridiculous. If you follow Stalinism, then this must not be the thing.
Have you guys seen the Soviet movie Come and See? I have seen that. I didn't know it was Soviet.
I saw it on OnlyFans.
I thought it was Belarusian. Is that how you say that? Belarusian? I don't know. Yeah. I didn't realize it was a Soviet era movie, but yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty weird, kind of grim. Have you seen that, Goat? I feel like you'd appreciate it.
No, I have not. I don't think I've ever seen any Soviet movies. Now that you mention it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's a pretty good like anti-war kind of movie from the perspective of like I don't know, 15-year-old kid in Belarus during World War II.
All right.
Yeah,
I'm not against it. I just when I think of Soviet movies, I think of Worker and Parasite. So I've just never gotten around to it.
Sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's not any kind of it's more of an art film than any kind of like propaganda type thing or whatever.
You're selling it, man. You're selling it good. It's actually more of an art film. It's from the Soviet Union. No, it's not actually from the Soviet Union. It's from Belarus. Maybe you've heard of it.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, this is a good one for you. Is or was low tax as bad as some people say? He seems like a scumbag retard to me, but I would like to hear a more informed perspective before forming an opinion like that.
Ooh, that's a hard one. Hold on, I'm going to pause my turn. Someone else jump in.
Well, what do people say about him? Because I don't know. It seems like he's gotten a bit of a reputation, like since I've left Something Awful, and I'm not really clear exactly what that is.
Yeah, I haven't posted on Something Awful in like 9 years since I tricked troops into clicking on WikiLeaks to make them lose their jobs. So that's true. That's my best man, not my funniest. But yeah, thing about low tax is he's a spaz is the shortest answer. He's also ruined a lot of opportunities he had to make a lot of money and not have to deal with this shit. Now he's half broke and half crippled in Missouri, where he could have had a bunch of money. But I think part of that is he does have respect for posting as a clear and untrammeled art form, which you got to respect, even though he is just a weird pill addict with an anger problem.
Yeah, well, that's sort of my impression. I've sort of... He feels like part of something that I am a part of, but at the same time, like, he also seems kind of like an incompetent idiot who got pretty lucky and managed to get something to work for a while and threw it all away for really no good reason.
It's not that he threw it all. It's not that he threw it away as much as that he had opportunities to make more money, and he was just locked in like the late 90s internet, where it's like, yeah, I could sell this forum to some coked out venture capitalist for $10 million, but like that would make people from GeoCities show up here, and I don't want that. I want to keep my forum pure.
Yeah. That's the main thing for me, is that he had like an extremely popular forum, as relative as such things go. He had a brand that was like completely, very popular or respected within a certain, share of Americans or whatever. Like it's within.
I mean, that was the internet back in the day.
Yeah. So it's like, the fact that you can't follow through on that and think, but. It's funny, and but at the same time, I don't know. I don't know what, like, if say he did sell the forums or something like that. Like, what I feel like there's probably even like just legal problems that would come up with anything like that. Like where they'd be like, okay, so you were letting unpaid moderators look at people's credit cards or something like that, and like all stuff like that. Like he would just be selling the name or something. I don't know. So and I don't know. I respect him in terms of like he built something interesting. I don't know. And, but it's funny because a lot of it was just in spite of him in the terms of like, just attracting some of the worst people online too. So I don't know.
Well, getting out of the way of things is actually a good skill in terms of like when you're a manager of something, like just knowing when to get out of the way is important.
Well, Don is right though. He's like, even if he had sold that, he probably still would have like gotten scammed for half his money by his Russian mail order bride. But at least he would have still had it,
Yeah.
You can burn that bridge when you come to it.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not really a monetization genius myself, but like that's my take on that.
So, what's the maddest you've ever seen someone get online? For me, it was an alcoholic Felix trolled who threatened to suck him off. I have a go-to. I feel like I've talked about it before, and it's sort of something I come back to all the time. But it's the time that I trolled that Jewish lady in LF, and she like threatened to call the ADL on me and accused me of being like a fake Muslim for not having the same body horror of pigs that she had as a Jew. And I mean, she was like a psycho, like a straight up crazy person already, but like she just went off, and it was pretty funny.
Yeah, my go-to one is also I think it was Mayor Wilkins who posted that.
Classic.
Like, just like I don't know, like 2,000 word post or something that was like all. Your account is my plaything and all that kind of goes on and on. And, if I ever see you, he goes, you're great in D&D because you can string together those pretty words and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that one's probably the maddest that, that I've seen, but like, I don't know. I can't think of a more recent one or anything.
The maddest I've ever seen anyone online is myself.
That's
you have to occasionally. I think it was Megan McCardle actually. She got me real mad online, and I'm not ashamed of it. Sometimes you have to respect a superior artist. Sometimes even the best MMA fighters lose a fight, and man, I was just spitting mad and ready to throw hands at some weird dipshit from 3,000 miles away.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've gotten mad about something like that. kind of wish it would happen again because it's.
When you feel it coming, man, it's like the acid. It's like the acid flashback just runs up your spine, and you're like, "Yeah, let's fucking go." I'm a married man, and I'm gonna yell at this person on Twitter.
Yeah, sometimes when I get that mad, it's usually someone that I like and know saying something I completely disagree with that I want to unleash the troll powers, but then I can't do it because I feel like that's a stupid thing to do. And,
that sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, I there's people that have made me mad on Twitter. I was trying to think, I don't think I've even been able to get mad at anything on Twitter, but no, there's people posting stuff about Syria and Assad that's really dumb. Some of that has made me mad, but it's not even at the same level of I don't know. It's just not the same,
Sure.
Yeah, but when it happens, it's like if you're a brilliant director, but then you spend 10 years making films, with one day you just see something that makes you cry. That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, that's yeah. So, anyways, thanks for coming on, Goat.
Absolutely.
And that was it's good talking about posting in a way that's I don't know, it's just fun, and I don't know, catching up and all that. So yeah.
Word.
Yeah, good talking to you, Goat. All right, guys. So if you enjoyed this episode and you want a second episode every week, you can subscribe to our Patreon and you will receive that, as well as access to our Discord where you can chat with us in our community. And I want to thank you for listening. We'll catch you next week.
Good night.
Saying we ain't down with the animes. Listen up, roll call. Anime Club. Dude, just rep your work. I'm like a Super Saiyan stuffed in a checkered shirt. All you motherfuckers wanna come and test the verse. Listen up, hear them players that'll get you hurt. Club me. Yo, I'm chillin' here with my friends. It's got a driftwood chain and transition lenses. Straight shining, forehead gots to gleam. All them TLO cats call me OxyClean. Well, I'm Baby Felipe. Just call me Surprise. Cause when I'm laying pipe, lasers come out of my eyes. Know the flip like Frieza when I'm enraged. Got a level 20 half-orc fire made. Mr. Casual Khakis, sweaters for moms. Gotta rap and tech to blast cats better than bombs. Into history and learning, not sports and crap. Check my basement, I'm working on a torture rack. Big Red in the back with so much soul. Make snaps and operate the remote control. Y'all ain't gotta hate on the way I roll. If you wanna pick a movie, just vote on the poll. Hey yo, fuck the system. My man is gay. Gonna smoke 5 blunts and watch anime. Skis. The TLO hook up your bitches jock me. Keep it locked down, slanging that wet and pocky. Step back, boys, I roll with the TLO. So think twice before you roll up and say hello, Margaret. My steeds keep them ducking for cover. Deviant art style, animes fucking each other. Oh, it's self-satisfied. I'm the mastermind. Mix up your manga titles and your ass is mine. Frontin' on me, that's a crime. When I'm in the room with bitches, yo, it's sexual harassment time. Franklin, here I come, devastating the track. Drinking a 40, got a dope, shorties waiting in back. Hey, y'all, there's some empty seats near the TV. I got a 6 and 2, you can watch Akira with me. Anime Club. Who the heck are these people? Haven't asked them yet. Looks like I joined an anime club by accident. I'ma slide out the door for these dudes assume they're legit with a real Asian up in the room. Yo, 9 MCs and 1 DJ, and we be getting down with no delay. Fuck you, mom and dad, we're here to stay. Japan is better than the USA.